Hey guys, and welcome to another Mousy Forum review. Today I am reviewing We Are Bulletproof, which is a fantasy roleplay where anything can happen, which is always exciting, and always extremely daunting as an admin because creating and maintaining lore is a huge task, like unbelievably huge. So I admire anyone who's gone into it, and today's requester is Greg Rules OK from RPGD, which, as some of you know, is where I've got my review shop set up at the moment. So this is the front page. The forum is based on SMF, which is a bold choice, a very bold choice. Not many people go when they're self-hosting. Not many people will go for SMF or anything like that. Normally, it's people just go with JSync and a custom domain. I mean, that's what I've got. Or icy boards is becoming more popular these days, but they tend to stick within those free hosted sort of things. Striking out on your own and going with a non-standard forum software is, again, ridiculously brave. And if it's what you love, stick with it. Always stick with what you love, guys. Never let anyone else tell you that you'll get more members any other way. If you don't love it, people won't join. Full stop. Okay, so we are bulletproof. So I love this whole thing where we put announcements in the header. I've just done it with mine. One thing I will say is that I kind of expect when I've got a list of chronological announcements that they go most recent at the top. But, that's me. I'm a weirdo. I'm fully understanding of that. So I would expect the most recent one at the top. I was confused. I saw 12, then 30, then I was like, huh, what's going on? So yeah, that's just me. But something to think about. You got an awesome little guest info box, which is great. And the shout box is members only. That's one thing that it's good, but it's not. Whenever I'm looking around a forum, I like to look at the shout box as well. The shout box is a really, really good peek into what the community is like. How they talk to each other, how questions get answered, how active it is, all that sort of stuff is what I look for. And especially if I was a guest looking at joining a game, I will go into the chat box and get to know the people in there first before I do anything. And certainly as an admin, I get a lot of people through our C-box, well, now our Discord, that just want to know more about the game and more about us and what we do, and to feel like they've got a place in it before they actually take that step and register an account. So that's probably something I would recommend. Is you can always ban someone if they misuse it, but you're never going to be able to talk to that person who came by, wasn't game to register, and probably would have stopped to chat and find out more if the C-box had been available. That's sort of what you're missing out on. So yeah, I do highly recommend making that visible to non-members as well. That's not especially clear either. Questions go into the guest-friendly advertising forum. If you're going to go through this route of having the shout box for members only, I would create a forum specifically for guest questions. Purely because it's not intuitive to go and post something in an advertising forum when what you want is a better idea of the board itself. When you've got questions about how things work here, you are much, much, much better off have a dedicated forum that even if only guests and admins can see it. Which no, actually, I probably don't recommend that either because you want your members to be able to jump in and say, "Oh yes, a guest, let's get them in here." Your members are always your best ambassadors, so to have that interaction, you really do want a dedicated forum or to open your chat box up is what I'd recommend because I read as far as we have a members only shout box and then I missed this until I scrolled up. This particular thing, I would probably break that up a little bit just to make it a little bit clearer if you can. Probably from there, that in its own paragraph, and that in its own paragraph is what I would do. So that you've got your different points really set out. So enough about the shout box. I'll stop ranting about the shout box. I'm not really ranting, I'm just explaining what I'm seeing. The board looks amazing. I've never seen SMF look this good. Like, never. This with the avatar and then little. I love these angled CSS thing that is trendy now. It's awesome. It's a good trend. I'm happy with this trend. This is good. Nice and clear. I don't normally like the whole side-by-side forum layout, but it really, really works in this particular situation. So yeah, it just looks amazing. I think that's beautiful. It almost looks like a JSON board, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so let's start getting into some of the information. So you've got your staff, which, did that go anywhere? Or is it a hover? Okay. Oh, right, it's, okay. So that's 4 staff, right. Okay, if there is a way you can hide that from non-staff, that would be awesome. Okay, so let's go for rules. Nice and neat. I like neat. Beautifully headed. So it's all very relaxed. Nice and chill. I like relaxed. Starter guide. Ah, I love starter guides! Starter guides are great. Starter guides make me happy. So some of this, if you can get links in here, a lot of them are, yeah, if you can get links in any place here, it's always good. Ooh, this is cool. Sorry, I'm forgetting to talk. Okay, so you got your plot there, and that's awesome. Again, just think about breaking up these paragraphs a little bit. They are getting on the verge of blocky, and if you're on a smaller screen than what I've got, it's going to make it even more blocky. For instance, for people on mobile devices, that's quite a block of text to try and navigate through. So that's something to think about. Got your settings, which is cool. Playable species. That's awesome. Okay, so let's go back to this for a minute. Alright. If in any of this you can get dot points, I love me some dot points. I'm inappropriately attracted to dot points. I just find they break up the text really well and really highlight different aspects of what you're trying to say. So, a good old unordered list is amazing. Um, so, there's all of that. Got your face claim. That's cool as. Man, I wish I could do this in JSync. It would be so good. Like, so good. I used to be able to do it in IPv3, and I loved it. Oh, yeah, open threads list, I like that. Login and register. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of information about what you've got, but what I'm not seeing, and what you said in your your review request was that you wanted to encourage people or make it known that they were able to help develop their own law. So the ideal place to probably, if you're open to the idea of new species, um, so possibly even a guide on introducing new law to the site. So something that, some sort of make it yours style guide where you can step people through how you'd go about adding a new species. Like, okay, so you expect from them a rundown of what the species is, what their abilities are, what their limitations are, that sort of thing. Even give them a form to fill out so that you've got something to work with, and then you know when once approved, they're added to here and all that sort of thing. So yeah, you've got a really good list here. And there's your little, see, this is at the bottom as well. I would put this at the top. If you really, really, really want to encourage people to submit their own species and take a really active role in developing your law, I would put this at the top if that's a priority. Don't keep it at the bottom. You want people to know, okay, hey. And I would put something in your starter guide as well. Because you've got an excellent world here that is just, it's already quite rich, and you've got a lot of well, it's not even a lot of information really. It's just it's all there. It's just very simple. Um, you could possibly go towards developing more. Like that's your plot, obviously. But things like this, like you could develop this more if you really wanted to. Some of them are good. They're all good. What am I saying? They're all good. But as a basic overview, you could do it differently. You could set up a page like this that's got all of your species listed, and you can have, like, I don't know, art of the particular species and quick facts, like expected lifespan, common hair colors, eye colors, that sort of thing. You could arrange it in a way that's sort of more like a Wikipedia profile of the species, and really give people an idea of what's possible. Um, where was I at? So you've got your witches. I would love to know, is there somewhere that I can find out about the magic? Because the other thing that you find with all of this is witches. Okay. I would put something more up about how your how your magic works and the different types of magic that are applicable to different species and all that sort of stuff. That's the bits that people tend to find really fascinating. And if you don't lock it down to some extent, you are going to get a lot of people that don't write it as it is in your head, which can be a bit of a bit confronting at times. Um, so that's something to think of as a rundown on how magic works, and how technology works in this particular universe, because I do notice that you've got your social media and computers and all that sort of thing. So how does that interact with magic, and how are the regular people, how do they cope in this world, and what do people know, what don't they know, that all that sort of thing can be very interesting. And I know that it's mostly included in your plot pages, your plot page, but really drilling down further into it for those who are interested in reading a bit more about your world can be very useful. And it doesn't need to take away from the short and sweet information that you've already got. It can be used as pages that you link to from the short your start guides, so that people who do want to read more about the magic system can go, okay, here, this is where I go, to find more about that, so that they can play it in a way that makes sense to the site. So let's have a look in here. Oh, stuff you've recently bought slash want. I would spend forever in there. But yeah, look, it's an excellent site. I'm really impressed with how this looks on on SMF. I've never seen SMF look so good. And clearly you've got some awesome members that are very dedicated, and there is nothing quite like there is no substitute for that. There is absolutely no substitute for an excellent community group, and I can see that that's what you've got. I would, if you really want to underline getting your members to really deepen that world, bring them into it. There's nothing wrong with getting your members to help you. They know the board as well as you do. Most of the time, they know it better. So yeah, you want to create a rich universe together, so make that your focus. Um, Encourage them to develop species and bits of lore, and what happens when this happens, and how does this affect things, and just yeah, you can really drill down into that sort of stuff, and get a lot of very interesting information out of it. And if you've got an artist on your member list, it would be pretty amazing to have pictures of all those awesome different species. Just saying. I am a sucker for original art. And if you don't have an artist on your member list that isn't interested in doing it, there's so many artists out there on Tumblr as well that would be awesome. Um, so I think that's all I've got to say. And yeah, I really can't think of anything else to sort of bring up. But it looks like an awesome site. I wish you all the best with it. It running a modern fantasy site like this is it's not easy. That when you don't have a fandom to go back to, it's really really hard to get things going, and really hard to keep up that momentum, because there's no predefined target audience for you. Even for me, I just go straight for the Potter fans, quite shamelessly. But even though there are people out there that are into modern fantasy, there's so many different varieties out there in original modern fantasy that one tiny thing is very likely to make them go, maybe this isn't for me. Um, But you don't have that problem so much with fandom based boards, which is what makes it so much harder to run an original board. And you're pulling double duty there with running it on SMF, and it looks like it's being a massive success for you, which is fantastic. And keep doing what you're doing, because clearly what you're doing is working for you. All I can do is tell you what I would do differently, and I'm just one insane girl from Australia. So thank you very much for requesting a review. I hope it has been helpful. Oh, my cat's disappeared. Oh, okay. Where's she gone? I don't know. Yeah. Best of luck with it. I think you guys are doing fantastically. And yeah, thanks again.